This is the final episode of our Unicell build series, and we thought it was only fitting if we brought the Unicell inside to do our sit down with us. What do you have to say for yourself?
Yeah, keep it down back there. We're trying to talk.
Really talkative.
Very loud.
Mouthy, honestly.
The pre-production meeting was a hell. Let's just say that.
The rider the Unicell gave us? Ridiculous.
Trying to change his name from Unicell to Unisold. Like, let's not jump the gun, okay?
Honestly, a diva.
Let's get right into it. Episode 22, the final episode. Here we go.
Right across this country into the starlight. 12,000 miles, turn back, do it again. No destination, it's just a journey. You were my lover and friend.
This is episode 22. We are talking about the brand new 24 volt split AC unit. We are also talking about something that we've never addressed before, changing the title of the vehicle to an RV title. And last but not least, we are taking the Unicell on a little shakedown test trip, and we're also getting the final weight.
First up this week was the new 24 volt split AC. This is a split unit. First time we've installed any sort of split AC, so it was a learning experience, but really excited about it in the end. We chose this unit for a few reasons, both its efficiency on use of power, but also the dimensions of the inside and particularly the outside unit fit perfectly with the space we had to go with. And I found this to be pretty unique while searching in this space. We've been looking at ACs forever, always trying to figure out the best solution. And a lot of that is sort of predicated on what vehicle you have, because everyone's scenario is different, but generally they're too large. The outside units particularly are too large to fit underneath most vehicles. They're usually like real tall and they need to be mounted on the back. That's not horrible, but when you have doors that swing open and all that, we didn't want to do that if we didn't have to, so we found this unit and we are pretty excited to give it a try.
When trying to come up with our AC solution for this build, we knew what we didn't want to do, and that was just buy a 110 rooftop unit, stick it in there, just to say that we had AC. This whole build is made to be off-grid, and we wanted the AC to be capable of running off-grid. This unit is 24 volt, and it comes in at about 7,000 BTU. We bought this mini split off of eBay, and I think it was around $860, and it actually had free shipping. I know it's made by a Chinese company called Triligo. If you've ever explored off-grid AC options, you know that this area of the build can be a serious struggle. Without dropping a lot of cash, it is really hard to get off-grid AC. Over the years, we've been looking for a small split, and we want to emphasize small because we don't have a lot of wall space in these builds, and we could never find a split small enough to fit inside one of our builds.
The Unicell kind of gave us a pretty unique opportunity. The floor being so high off of the ground, the whole floor is built above the wheels. So actually underneath the Unicell, there's like, I think 17 inches of the fiberglass skirt from where the floor stops, which is pretty unique for any vehicle we've worked on. That being said, most split ACs are built in a pretty vertical manner, and they're meant to mount on the back of like a tractor trailer or a house. So that's not an issue in those scenarios. To get a unit out of the box ready to go, there are not a lot of them that have everything mounted in more of a square shape. So when we found this one, we thought, wow, is that right? We looked at the dimensions, got under there. I'm like, this thing will fit clear. It will be higher than our lowest point. So that's what you're looking for, because you don't want it hanging down real low. Once we ordered the unit, we just waited for it to come in. And of course, you know, until you see the thing in person, you always got to have some questions like, it's a great price, so let's see how well this is built. And I can say after going through it, actually pulling most of the components apart, the thing was really well put together. The electrical connections were really well done. Everything is sized appropriately. It looks really good. I'm not an HVAC pro. I couldn't tell you that this thing's going to last 20 years. I really don't know that aspect of it. Nobody does. But as far as aesthetically, what I'm seeing and the connections and the quality of all that work, I'm pretty impressed. First step of the installation process was locating exactly where this was going to go.
We decided to place the internal part of the split in the closet. It was where we had the most wall space. In addition to that, it's in the bed area facing towards the headboard, which is exactly where you want AC when you're trying to sleep at night. That's one of the most important times for having air conditioning, because when it's really hot and you can't sleep, it's absolutely miserable. So we wanted to prioritize having it in the bed area. I think it just worked out really well.
Once we did that, we were able to run the coolant lines, the drain tube, and the power down through the back of the closet, out of the floor, underneath the vehicle. We then ran a wire back directly to our Lynx distribution. We were able to fuse the unit right off of that, which is connected directly to the battery. A couple more huge advantages of using a true 24-volt DC unit as opposed to a 120 AC unit is you're not using an inverter, so there's no efficiency loss there. And the DC units do not surge when you turn them on. They slowly ramp up to their power consumption. AC units, they surge super hard when you turn them on. 2,000 watts or higher usually. And that can leave you needing to either put a soft start on the unit or having an oversized inverter. As well, it's just really hard on the batteries to keep doing that. It's ideal if you don't have to do that. So the DC units are pretty much better across the board in every way possible. One more perk about this being a split unit you can mount underneath is you're not taking up roof space. I really don't like that about the rooftop units. Even the good 24-volt ones, it takes a huge footprint of your roof up, which means that's less solar, which is less way to recharge your batteries to power the air conditioner. So I really think any version of a split is ideal if you're trying to run it off grid at all. It was time to mount the outside unit, and I had to figure out what kind of system I wanted to use for this. I actually was able to do one of the easier ways that pretty much everybody could do, and that is just using some angle and threaded rod. Using angle and threaded rod is really nice because just about everybody could do this. It's more accessible than some of the custom work we've done to mount things. First step was to size everything up. So we figured out what our support beams were and where the angle would go into those. Once I had that stuff lined up, I was able to then drill press all the holes in advance that I could into the angle, so I'm not doing as much of it with a hand drill underneath with metal shards flying on my face. Any of this you can avoid. Is definitely nice to do ahead of time. It's going to make the process a lot smoother. The last part was to lift the unit and install it on the threaded rod and the angle. This was a little bit tricky. I got it on there safely. It wasn't too heavy, so I wasn't too worried about it. We prepped the refrigerant lines by putting them into a foam insulated tubing, and then we wrapped both the lines in an insulated tape before we fed them through the floor and the cabinets. Any points where we had friction and contact, we put a large conduit over there just so there's no chance that those hoses can get worn down over time. Quick note, depending on the unit you have, you may or may not have to charge the system. Some come pre-charged. In that case, you still have to run a vacuum line before you release the refrigerant. You can either take this to a mechanic or go and buy the equipment and do it yourself. I'm not going to get into that whole process because there are plenty of really good YouTube videos already out there with kind of car guys that are doing this, and it's the same process essentially.
Now that we had mounted and installed both the interior and the exterior units, the last thing to do was to give it a test. And this was actually a funny process because, as we mentioned, this is a Chinese mini split, and so the display unit was in Chinese, as was the remote. So we found an app that would help us translate it, and it really wasn't too hard to figure out.
Most of it was straightforward. Power button's pretty universal, and then there's a thermometer. It's in Celsius, but up and down. Then there's a fan, up and down. So those ones are easy. It's the other buttons that's like, what does that mean? And that's usually your eco mode or your high power mode.
Okay, so For the remote, temperature, up, down, model. That means like mode. Strong or energy saving.
Okay.
So high, low. It's translating this as significant, wind direction, and this one is sleep.
All right, let's see how much power it pulls. Right now we're pulling about 50 watts for just the lights we have on, so we can subtract that from whatever we see. Let's fire it up. Okay, you can see it slowly ramping up. No surge. 200. Pressure should kick on in a minute here. 280. 300. 350. 400. You can see it steadily climbing as opposed to surging, which is really nice. So it's on max right now, and it seems to be stopping at about 540 watts. It's actually going down, which is nice. We were pulling 50, so it's pulling about 500 watts right now. We can turn the blower up. It's gonna get loud. And it's this one. It is loud.
Your hair blowing in the wind.
Yeah, I probably would never run it on this high, but even with the max blower, it's pulling about 600 watts right now. So when it's on eco mode, obviously it takes less, and you can see it cycling up and down, so it's not even a continuous power draw. Like right now, it's way down to 200 watts.
Are you on eco mode?
Yeah, I believe so. Max.
It blows that over when I close them. Whew. Wow.
You can get yourself cold and bad, you're good to go.
Yeah, it's actually really powerful. It's pointed right at the bed where you're sleeping. This is pretty great.
Is that on a high fan right now? Pretty high, right? 4? That's all the way up. So
It was on 5, so.
I feel like once you get it down, you probably run it on like 1 or 2, which is pretty quiet. 5 is a little noisy.
So we're inside the heated shop space that's next to our tent. So we could kind of get a test on it without being in literal winter weather. So it's doing really good.
So right now with the fan on 2 and on max cool, it's only pulling 480 watts. It's pretty cold. I wish it was the summer right now. A quick summary of the power draw, the exciting part, right? It was time to see what kind of power draw this unit was gonna have. Now, on the unit, it says 32 amps, so that is probably its absolute max of what it could pull. You'll probably see that on the highest setting on a 90-degree day, but we brought it into the heated shop. It's about 60 degrees ambient temperature in here, and we saw some pretty impressive numbers. On the low end, it was pulling about 400 watts. In the high end, it was only pulling about 550. And I did notice on the low end, it cycles up and down. So it's not even continuously pulling 400 watts. It's kind of going up, and then it ramps down slowly to about 100 and slowly ramps up. So I think it's really efficient on like the eco mode, but even the high only being about 550 watts is crazy. I imagine these numbers will probably be increased by at least 100 watts when it's hot out. It's hard to say that, but in general, that's what happens with any air conditioner. Air conditioning questions is probably the thing we get the most. People are always trying to figure out a solution, and in reality, there's always going to be limitations if you want true off-grid AC without investing a really large amount of money into battery and solar, and even still, it has some limitation. That being said, we wanted the unit that actually could run off-grid for a pretty good amount of time. And this unit fit all those things perfectly. Sure, we could have got a larger BTU unit, but then you start getting higher power draw, which is fine when you're plugged in, but the point is to be able to run it off-grid. So this kind of sat in a really nice range. It's enough BTUs to do the job, but also the power draw, being a true 24-volt DC unit, was actually very efficient. Overall, really impressive, and you know, you could run this thing pretty significantly on the battery that's in here.
The next thing up this week is changing the title of the vehicle. This is a really common question that we get just because we have owned so many conversions. All of the buses that we've had and also the Unicell have come to us as commercial vehicles. When we initially purchased them, they had a commercial title. You definitely don't want to keep these vehicles as commercial, and in the past we've switched them to passenger titles, but for the Unicell, we really wanted to go for converting it to an RV title. So let's talk about what went down, the whole process from start to finish. It was truly a saga.
We are about to go in the DMV and do the paperwork to get the title converted from a commercial vehicle to a RV or motorhome, whatever their designation is. That depends on state. Hopefully this goes smooth. They basically had a list of things they wanted photos of to kind of prove that it's been converted.
So in New York State, in order to convert the title of a vehicle to an RV, you have to meet certain requirements that they have put in place that basically shows them that you're self-converting this vehicle into a mobile home.
Yeah.
So we looked up the requirements for New York State. Each state is actually a little bit different. So if you're not in New York, this might be a little bit different, but this was what we had to do for New York State. So we took all of these pictures. It looks like
Crime scene.
like crime scene photos because they're in black and white.
The sink was left dirty with sawdust.
We're out here and it's raining. It feels like we're like investigating
Yeah.
something. No, but these are the photos of the Unicell. It's just like the sink and the faucet. They wanted proof of a freshwater system. They wanted proof of a refrigerator. There's quite a few things. You had to have 4 out of however many
6
were
or
on the
something.
list, like the power system separate from the vehicle. So we have all of these photos. We printed them all out last night, and I'm about to go in and file the paperwork.
As you can tell, we're not finished with the build, but we figured it looked finished enough. Get the process moving. All right, call me if you need something. I'll stay here with the little monster.
Parking, I am scraping the wheel on the curb. I'm scraping the wheel on the curb. That's great. Okay, let's just get into good enough. Welcome back to the DMV. Day 2 at the DMV. It turns out I did not have everything that I needed to convert the title for the Unicell. I had 2 major things that I had to go back and get. But we're here, day 2. I have the title, I have the weight slip, I have the registration form, and I still have all of these photos. I'm getting it done today, and this title will no longer be commercial, and we will have an RV title in our hands in 4 to 6 weeks. Well, we did not get it done. I know I said we were getting it done. The DMV had other plans. Once I finally had all the paperwork that I needed, I went back to the DMV and they told me I had to mail it into Albany. So today I just got back from the post office, but I'm a little frustrated that we couldn't just do it in the office because I have no idea how long this is gonna take. Man, I hope this goes well, and it will just be a few weeks before the title comes in the mail. We are a little bit nervous about it, so cross your fingers for us that this is gonna be really quick and really easy. Maybe we'll be surprised. So Monday evening, look what came in the mail. I finally have the title. We are headed to the DMV right now, and and we are getting this baby on the road. It's time to get plates for this thing, and we are doing it today. All right. We're actually at the DMV now. This is like my 4th or 5th time here in the last 2 months, but I finally have the title. It has the house on wheels classification that it needs to be an RV in New York State. That's like an RV title. So I think I have everything I need to actually get plates for the Unicell. I guess let's just see how this goes. We did it! We got plates! We got plates, finally. Apparently I could have just had it done in the office, but that's not how it went. I got someone that said I needed to mail it in to Albany because we're in New York State. It would have been so much easier if they could have just done it in the office, and it didn't take months to get this done. I'm not coming back to the DMV ever again. Just kidding. I'll probably be here quite a lot in the future. In the end, we did receive an RV or house on wheels New York State title for the Unicell, but man, we took a long way to get there. We basically figured out that the first person we spoke to at the DMV gave us the wrong information. We could have done things right in the office, and instead that person told us to mail it in to the title bureau in Albany, which is what really just started off this whole chain of events. Ultimately, when it got to Albany, they didn't understand we were converting it to a camper, and they thought we had modified the actual frame of the vehicle that required a new inspection and all this stuff, and it just got so messy. I think we ended up at the DMV 5 or 6 times in total, but they were extremely helpful. They called up to the title office. They helped us get it figured out. So we're very grateful to them for all the help. And now the Unicell is officially a home on wheels in New York State.
Finally, we have the title, so we were able to get plates on the vehicle and actually get it out of the tent, give it a shakedown, drive it around, and see how it operates out in the real world. To be honest, I was ready to just keep driving. I just wanted to just head west and just be like, nope, we're keeping it. I'm not going back to the shop to clean up. I'll get new clothes later. I just want to keep driving. It's so quiet and smooth. Yeah, it was tough to bring it back to the shop, I'll be honest.
Just get on the highway and go out to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready, Mateo? Are you ready? Are we going for a ride? You want to go for a ride? All right, let's go.
First thing we gotta do today, get some propane. We got a little line here, so we're gonna have to wait.
It's already moving.
I gotta awkwardly back up. Everyone's going the other way. Propane's filled. Time to get it weighed. Let's go. Just get on the scale and then look at the view. I'm like barely swinging around. 1,100.
The Unicell weighed in at 11,100 pounds, but the water tank is half full, so it probably weighs in really close to last year's bus, actually. Our builds are the exact same weight. It's kind of weird how that worked out, but the Unicell was 8,000 pounds when we started. That was the weight of it as a moving van, and 11,100 now in its final form. Alright, do you know what you want?
Something fantastic.
Do you want something chocolatey or pumpkin-y or...
Definitely not pumpkin-y.
So not just a regular coffee?
I don't know, as long as it's fantastic.
Okay, I'll try. I'll try to find something fantastic for you.
Alright, have fun.
Alright, I'll be back. Risky.
Taylor's been waiting for you.
What do you think I got you?
Probably a water.
I got you a salted caramel mocha.
Salted caramel water, huh? Sounds fantabulous.
I got a maple latte. It's actually really good. Are you cold? I'm gonna
cold.
get in here. Are you chilly? It's cold out there, bud. And we did not get a pup cup for Mateo because last year we got him one and he was afraid of it. So.
Is that true, Mateo? You have something to say for yourself?
So no pup cup for this guy. Maybe we'll work on his pup cup fear this year. Cheers to finishing the Unicell. We did it.
So we're getting a lot of looks out here for the Unicell. People are really gawking at it. Might just sell on the streets.
We've had 3 people ask about it so far already, just driving it around. So that's kind of cool. It's definitely getting attention.
Yeah.
You know, people realize that it's a self-converted RV and that it's kind of like a unique thing.
I think it's weird around here because there's a bunch of work vehicles that are this vehicle.
I think that's all our errands for the day, so let's just go kind of take a little joyride.
Yeah, I'm lost, but I'm living. Yeah, I'm lost. Can I be forgiven? Thought by now pain would be my friend. I know that discomfort was a means to an end, but I'm lying in one bed. No, I'm lost, but I'm living. No, I'm lost. Can I be forgiven? I smother myself in what I know. I'm claustrophobic and comfortable. I smother myself in what I know. Yeah, I'm lost, but I'm living. No, I'm lost. Can I be forgiven?
Episode 22, the final episode. The Unicell is complete, and feels great to finally have this project done. A little sad to see it go, but just want to thank everybody for hanging out and sticking with us.
In the beginning, we said we didn't know how the build was going to turn out, but we would definitely learn some new things. And we absolutely did. A build from beginning to end is a full journey, and we're just so happy to have all of you here with us on that journey. We document this process because we love interacting with you guys about the build. And if we can help someone else with their build, that's what it's all about. Because we remember how difficult our first build was, how much there is to learn, and just the amount of information out there. In the end, it's not about the vehicle, and it's not truly about your build. It's about the experiences that you will have in that vehicle and the friends that you'll make on the road, the people that you meet. That's what makes this lifestyle all that it is, and that's why we fell in love with being on the road. We absolutely cannot end this series without a huge thank you to my dad for all the Kevin power-ups. So many Kevin power-ups this year. He taught me so much more about welding this year. We are just endlessly grateful to him and his willingness to lend his talents to our projects. Again, we just want to say such a huge thank you to all of you for following along for 22 episodes of the Unicell Build series. That's all we have for you guys.
Well, thanks for hanging out, guys. Until next time, see you later.
I know that discomfort was a means to an end, but I'm lying in one bed. No, I'm lost, but I'm living. Can I be forgiven?